It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, the Delta variant fuels a surge in COVID cases in the four-state area. We'll find out the impact on local hospitals.
Burn off the morning fog. It is also going to heat up that intersection all the way through the end of the week, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Webb City Little League softball prepares to head off to the state tournament. We'll have a preview. The KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts now.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Zach Dodge. The number of COVID-19 cases continues to increase in Missouri, and that's affecting Joplin hospitals. At Freeman Health System, they say their COVID numbers are reflective of what most Missouri hospitals are reporting. They say they've seen a significant jump in COVID patients in especially the last 7 days. Health experts warn to not let our guards down as cases continue to rise.
People need to know that, we're in a different but still very hard place with COVID here in the hospital. And I think that, the awareness of, making sure that that you social distance and you do mask, and also that you wash your hands.
Currently, Freeman has 50 COVID-related hospitalizations, including at their Neosho Hospital. Mercy Hospital has 58. In continuing the dose coverage, the Springfield Greene County Health Department is hoping church leaders and employers will help boost vaccine numbers. Right now, 39% of eligible people in Greene County are vaccinated. The department joined James River Church and Central Assembly to get the message out. Acting Director for the Health Department, Katie Towns, explains why this strategy is important.
Faith leaders today are partnering with us, and they have congregations full of people who they have influence and can encourage the use of this solution that will be our path to protecting not only the individuals but our community, the congregation.
We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to worship and to meet like we want to, and we can't right now because of the way that this virus is spreading through our community.
You just heard from Pastor David Jane with Central Assembly of God Church. He challenged other churches to host vaccine clinics. James River Church is hosting clinics all week at its various campuses, including in Joplin. That clinic will be Thursday, July 15th. An investigation into a report of shots fired in Vernon County, Missouri, leads to the arrest of a suspect and the seizure of multiple guns and meth. The suspect is 55-year-old Daniel Sands of El Dorado Springs, Missouri. He's accused of shooting at a rural Vernon County home on Thursday. No one was hurt in the shooting. During the investigation, the sheriff's office says they searched Sands' home, where they recovered meth and multiple guns. The county prosecutor has charged Sands with assault, 2 counts of armed criminal action, and other drug and weapon-related crimes. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office has released the identity of the man who drowned at Elk City Lake on Friday. Officials say the man is 47-year-old Craig Gilson. Emergency crews on Friday responded to calls about a man yelling for help in the swimming area of the lake, but he did not resurface. Gilson was pronounced dead at the scene. Frito-Lay union workers are now in their second week of a strike at the plant in Topeka, Kansas. They went on strike after rejecting the latest tentative contract agreement. The 2-year deal included a 2% raise at the end of each year. The company said it also limited forced overtime. As workers continue their strike, several organizations and community members have made donations to help. They include hundreds of tacos and 500 cases of water. And a striking worker says an organization is trying to pay the water bills for all the union members. The union and Frito-Lay have a meeting scheduled to discuss the negotiations on July 19th. Yesterday was the start of a hands-on summer camp to learn about robotics hosted by Pitt State. Topics covered in the camp include programming, construction techniques, and electromechanics. We sent photojournalist Sam Combrink there to check it out.
Our kids work with a Lego robotics-based system, and from that they're able to build simple robots that will be able to drive forward, turn, follow a line, be able to pick things up, maybe even interact with their environment around them, finding walls turning, things like that.
Does anybody know why Lego uses all pictures and no words?
So new things that I learned today was how to build the car because it needed a lot of pieces, and I never even knew that you could build a car that actually works out of Legos. Like I never even knew that.
Basically what this is we use a Lego-based robotics system to help kids learn the basics of how to build robots, how systems work, things like motors and gears, programming, but a lot of it has to do with applied problem solving and learning teamwork strategies.
The camp will be capped off with a competition on Friday. Pitt State is hosting another camp this week called Construct Your Future. Now we're going to go over to Michael Hayslip with our first look at the weather.
Amazing opportunity for those 4 state kids.
Yes, it is.
Great to see that they're interested in the STEM background
Right.
of it all. 7th in the range line, Zach. It is absolutely gorgeous. Remember yesterday we were waiting on those clouds to part? Not the case on this Tuesday. We're clear and there we go. Now we're bumping up a little bit temperature-wise. We're up to 67 already in Lamar. My goodness, they shot right up there. Everything ranging from 60 in Fort Scott. We've yet to see anybody dip down to 59. We got close though, with about 4 to 5 places that were holding on to 60 earlier. And like I said, anywhere from 60 to 67. Lamar's our warm spot at 67, 62 in Miami, and let's go 64 in Carthage. The Skywatch Storm Tracker, that is off the sweeping radar, so if we were to remove that, you can tell how clear it is, not only just for us, but really the entire Midwest. Got to push on east of the Mississippi to find any the closest rain to us, really. The majority of the activity for Tuesday, as far as nationally speaking, it's simply going to follow the arrows of the jet stream. And so the fact that we kind of are stuck right there in the middle, not necessarily a bad thing. We are stuck with some warm temperatures, though. It's going to get up into the high 80s today with south breeze and sunny skies. Any rain that we do see, going to try to sneak in the south right here and won't amount to anything for the most part. And then for Wednesday, yeah, it's going to be a little bit hotter on Wednesday than what we're going to have today. Not so much as far as pure temperature goes, but factor in the humidity that we're going to pick up on Wednesday. That's what's going to make the big difference. And then Thursday into Friday, next round of thunderstorms.
Up next, a new side effect.
A new health issue concerning the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I'm Laura Podesto with details as more than 600,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus.
Plus, a death-defying stunt. We'll tell you about a new world record in slacklining. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. More than 607,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus, and health officials note that almost all new deaths are people who have not been vaccinated. But there's a new issue concerning Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. Laura Podesta has more.
A new warning about Johnson & Johnson's one-dose coronavirus vaccine. The FDA says out of the 12.8 million Americans who've gotten the shot, about 100 people developed a rare but serious autoimmune disorder called Guillain-Barré. The cases have generally been reported in men 50 and over about 2 weeks after receiving the shot.
We've seen this with one of the influenza vaccines a couple of decades ago. The good news is it looks like it's extremely rare.
The FDA says the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the potential risks.
We had this beat.
Dr. Peter Hotez notes the vaccines have allowed some areas of the country to safely resume pre-pandemic life.
Now we've squandered that opportunity partially, at least in parts of the country. If the Delta variant is allowed to accelerate, sure, I think we could see additional variants.
Since just last week, average daily cases in the U.S. are up 30%. more than a third of them in 5 hotspots.
Everyone's tired of hearing about COVID. We're tired of COVID too.
Kayla Hillis is a nurse at Cox Medical Center Branson in Missouri. The hospital is sharing video diaries from employees in hopes their messages get through.
Even if you don't think it's COVID, if you think you have a cold, give it a couple of days. Stay at home. Just see how it goes.
Meanwhile, Pfizer officials met with the White House to discuss offering a 3rd shot to high-risk Americans. For now, the government says the booster is not necessary. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Yesterday, Israel started giving some people a 3rd dose of the Pfizer vaccine, specifically to at-risk adults. A diet rich in fermented foods such as yogurt increases the diversity of microbes in the gut and lowers inflammation. That's according to a study from Stanford University. Previous research has linked low microbe diversity to obesity and diabetes. More people are being hospitalized for heart attacks in England than in previous years. Researchers say there has been a modest increase after years of decline. They suggest the increase may be due to more sensitive tests that can detect less severe heart attacks. And another reason to brew that cup of joe each morning. Researchers from Northwestern University found regular coffee consumption of at least 1 cup daily could lower the risk of COVID infection. The results show daily consumption of 1 or more cups a day has been associated with a 10% decrease in risk of contracting the virus. Coffee is said to contain antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Consumption of these properties from coffee can help to ward off the virus and its worst effects. Too bad for me, I'm not a coffee drinker.
You're not?
I just don't like coffee. It's not necessarily that I don't like how it tastes. It's the crash I end up having a few hours after I drink a cup of coffee.
I completely. Then you could just do what I do, Zach. Don't stop drinking coffee.
Just continue to drink
just the entire day. just roll through your day.
That actually explains quite a bit.
Yes, I was greeted this morning with a text message of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and coffee.
Yeah?
Yes.
Nice.
That's how you start your morning.
That is the best way to start the morning.
All right, live look outside of Television City. Key factor here is the low-lying fog, just kind of hovering, just a little bit left. And so give it another 45 minutes here, and we'll be done with it. It had some dense patches this morning, however. 7th rain line has remained on the clear side. 64 degrees is where we stand right now, with temperatures ranging anywhere from 60 to 67. Lamar still our clubhouse leader. Skywatch Storm Tracker with the fog and the humidity just kind of showing up there on the sweeping radar. We take it off. Big difference between yesterday and today. Got that heavy cloud cover yesterday. That really slowed us down from warming up. That is not going to be the case on this Tuesday. Flood warnings for the Osage and Little Osage persisting until Wednesday, and additional flood warnings in the United States all throughout New Mexico and Arizona. They're getting hammered right now. As far as the Midwest, everything stays east of the Mississippi. And watch how the severe thunderstorm risk map mirrors where those intense arrows are on the mid-level jet stream. And so since we don't have any arrows running through the 4 states, that means we don't have anything to worry about today, but trying to stay cool. Highs in the high 80s, go about anywhere from 88 to 90, and then overnight, high 60s, low 70s, an indicator of what's to come. See a little green down there at the bottom trying to pop up, far southern reaches of northeast Oklahoma. Not going to amount to anything. Next one that will, we got a stationary front that's going to move in Thursday night and kind of stick with us. It just won't cool us off at all, as our temperatures will remain in the 90s up until the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Joplin Outlaws picked up their first win of the second half over the weekend, beat the Jeff City Renegades 6-4. Outlaws are 1 game under 500 on the summer, sitting at 12-13 overall. Joplin at home with a meeting against the Nevada Griffins last night as Nevada takes the shutout 4-0. And what a night on the hill for Missouri Southern's Chase Feeder as he gets the win, goes 6 shutout innings for Nevada and allows just 4 hits. Webb City girls softball dominated Little League district tournaments last week, and that includes the 12 and under team, claiming a district championship to punch their ticket to the state tournament. Our own sports director, Jacob Leonard, caught up with the team to talk about preparing to hit the road to DeSoto.
The Webb City 12 and under softball team is heading to the state tournament.
I'm pretty nervous, but at the same time, I'm more excited for having another opportunity. It's really exciting, and I'm glad that we get to keep playing this year. Our defense is strong and stuff, but also it's mostly our mental part of it and how positive we all stay.
Webb City claimed back-to-back district titles last week to punch their ticket to DeSoto. Last year, their season ended after districts due to COVID-19.
I really thought that we had a chance to go a long ways last year, and with the COVID hitting, all we got to do is play districts and win districts. So this year the girls have a chance to go up and go further and have a chance at state, and hopefully we can advance past state and see how far we can go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool of being able to go to state this time and maybe even making it farther.
It was a dominant week for Webb City softball of all ages. The 12 and under team joins the 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and 16-year-old teams as district champs.
You got to take yourself.
It's a very sports-oriented town. The community backs them well. They care about their kids, and they buy into it, and they invest in them. We'll just show up there and try to do our best and adjust as we go.
Webb City's first game in the state tournament Friday night at 8 in DeSoto. The 2021 Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tonight in Denver. Cardinals have 2 players in the game, pitcher Alex Reyes and third baseman Nolan Arenado. For Arenado, his 7th All-Star selection, and tonight's going to be special for the Cardinals third baseman as he returns to Coors Field in Denver, where he spent the first 8 years of his Major League career.
Now, obviously, being in batting practice now, we're going to see a lot of the fans. I got a lot of love for them, and they know that. I've said it a lot, and I always played hard for them, and that was my goal. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be great. I'm a little nervous about it again, but, it'll be a lot of fun.
Finally, Milwaukee Bucks have made it a series in the NBA Finals, blowing out the Suns Sunday night, 120-100. Big night for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis dropping 41 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. Phoenix still leads the series 2-1, but the Bucks now have a chance to even this up at 2 games apiece on Wednesday night.
I feel like in the previous game 2, there was so much traffic. I was, able to make the corner pass to guys or make the right pass, guys, but now being at home, you have a little more confidence, your legs feel a little bit better. You can finish some of those plays, but there's a lot of traffic in there. We got to keep, making the right play.
Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero. Sergeant Tory Moore served in the United States Army from 2011 to 2014 and fought in Afghanistan. His hometown, Joplin. We're proud to salute Troy Moore, a four-state hero. If you don't like heights, well, consider yourself warned. Slacklining is a sport that has you balance or walk on a narrow strip of nylon called a slackline. Now imagine doing that suspended between 2 mountaintops. That's called highlining, and Vicky Barker has that story from London.
Some 2,000 feet above an icy, windy, rock-strewn Swedish valley, between 2 mountaintops more than a mile apart, on a wobbly slackline 2 inches wide, German highliner Kieran Herderich advances step by excruciating step. Almost, and he makes it, the first of 4 on his team to set the new world distance record of 1.3 miles. The effort etched on his face.
So when I got closer to the anchor of this line, I screamed loudly. I don't really know why. It's maybe a mix of emotions.
Emotions including maybe relief at not getting killed. In fact, slackliners pride themselves on their safety measures. The preparations for this feat were painstaking. It looks like daredevilry, but highliners say the sport requires team dedication to safety and a calm, almost meditative approach on that high-rise slackline, which is how Herderich did it.
So I just focused on being very slow, being extremely clean, and just reaching the end.
All pulling together. One reason everyone on that mountaintop will share this new world record. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
Can you imagine trying to walk 1.3 miles on a rope that's like that thick? That's crazy. And of course, the Highliners were wearing watches with GPS trackers to measure and verify the distance they walked between the two anchors. Another half hour of news and weather just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a roadblock in the fight against world hunger.
Efforts to wipe out world hunger in less than a decade are under attack. I'm Kevin Cork in Washington with more on the latest UN report that shows just how bad the world hunger crisis has gotten. That's coming up.
And why the price of just about everything is on the rise. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
It's the 4 states most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. The number of COVID-19 cases continues to increase in Missouri, and that's affecting Joplin hospitals. At Freeman Health System, they say their COVID numbers are reflective of what most Missouri hospitals are reporting. They say they have seen a significant jump in COVID patients in the last 7 days. Health experts warn to not let our guards down as cases continue to rise. Currently, Freeman has 50 COVID-related hospitalizations, including at their Neosho Hospital. Mercy Hospital has 58. Two hospitals in Springfield are seeing their largest numbers of patients since the pandemic began. But as Michael Van Schoek reports, the hospitals are preparing for things to get even worse.
As we put out over the last couple weeks, we've exceeded last year's peak.
As Mercy and Cox see record numbers, there's been a continued need to adapt. Mercy just opened its 6th COVID unit for the first time.
We built our plan last year to be able to expand across units as our census grew. And so what we had to do is expand into a second ICU. So our main ICU that we keep our COVID patients on has 23 beds available. We hit 34 patients today. So we had to have that second COVID unit, ICU unit available, which we did.
Hospitals say the growing demand for beds and ventilators is connected to the Delta variant.
This disease is different. It is quicker, sicker, and younger. I would say the ramp up time from 14 to 125 patients, which was in about 5 weeks for us, was almost triple as fast as during the winter.
As they continue to manage available resources, both Cox and Mercy say some of the most needed help has arrived. More staff.
I think we've got like 27 more nurses coming by next Monday and maybe 60 some in the next 3 weeks, which is a godsend.
Cox has 10 new respiratory therapists coming as well, and more than 80 responded to a request for help. At Mercy, 10 more physicians from the St. Louis area arrived this week.
So they'll start picking up shifts to relieve some of our in-house physicians, and they'll just be in our regular rotation. We're very grateful for it, and it couldn't come at a better time.
The additional help comes right along the time frame. Medical experts expect a possible rise in July 4th cases.
By July 19th, our forecasting tool are predicting between 153 and 178 patients with COVID at Cox. I don't know how we'll handle it, but we're going to do everything we can to try to handle that volume of patients. So that will be a record for both Cox and Mercy.
Local health officials are now turning to faith leaders to help them step up vaccinations. Missouri State University is offering incentives for students to get their shots, and Springfield is canceling its Birthplace of Route 66 festival because of the surge in cases. The Delta variant is also fueling a COVID spike in Kansas. State Department of Health and Environment data showed that Kansas averaged 371 new cases a day in the past week. That's the highest figure since February. State officials also say there's been a 28% increase in cases of the Delta variant since Friday. In Oklahoma, health officials are urging more residents to get vaccinated. Oklahoma ranks 11th in the country for most new cases per capita over the last 2 weeks. Much of the focus is on our region, northeastern Oklahoma, where cases are rising steadily. Meanwhile, the CDC says an outbreak in April and May at a central Oklahoma gymnastics facility infected at least 47 people. Health officials didn't publicly identify the facility. An investigation into a report of shots fired in Vernon County, Missouri leads to the arrest of a suspect and the seizure of multiple guns and meth. The suspect is 55-year-old Daniel Sands of El Dorado Springs, Missouri. He's accused of shooting at a rural Vernon County home on Thursday. No one was hurt in the shooting. During the investigation, the sheriff's office says they searched Sands' home where they recovered meth and multiple guns. The county prosecutor has charged Sands with assault, 2 counts of armed criminal action, and other drug and weapon-related crimes. Some Southeast Kansas drivers faced some traffic changes after a truck tipped over on the highway. It happened at the intersection of K3 and K39 near Uniontown. The truck carrying grain tipped over, reducing traffic on the highway to 1 lane. No word yet on whether anyone was hurt. Eastern Oklahoma's popular nature attraction, Bathtub Rocks in Tahlequah, is now closed to the public. The Nature Conservancy owns that land, and leaders there say they made the hard decision to close after years of vandalism and illegal activity. The preserve's hiking trails and country roads will still be open for people to enjoy the preserve. Officials say the Conservancy hasn't decided if or when Bathtub Rocks will reopen. That's unfortunate that we had
that's
a
a shame.
Place
It's
closed.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a great place.
Looks like it from the video.
Especially with the hot weather.
Right.
It's a great place. You could just honestly go sit in the rock. That's Bathtub Rock. I mean, yeah,
Right.
you can just go sit there, listen to the water running. It runs to the Illinois River. Yeah. When I heard that earlier this morning, I was like, come on, people. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Zach, our record, 1954 for this July 13th, 113 degrees, my goodness. All these records we have from June and July run from 1952, 1953, and 1954. I just can't fathom how hot those 3 consecutive years must have been. 64 degrees over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Starting to bump up into the mid-60s now instead of hanging out in the lower section, and a clean Skywatch storm tracker. 7-day forecast, going to be delightful today, albeit a little bit warm, but seasonable. Tomorrow's when it really kicks in with the humidity. It's going to feel like 96 tomorrow. And then thunderstorm activity for Thursday night into Friday morning, but no reprieve on the backside of the temperatures. We'll be back with more. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, the Oklahoma State School Board voting to ban schools from teaching certain topics concerning race and gender. These new rules are in response to a new Oklahoma law that took effect July 1, banning the teaching of what's called critical race theory and also prevents sexual diversity training at colleges and universities. Critical race theory, a 40-year-old academic concept, and its core idea, racism is a social construct, not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, that it's embedded in legal systems and policies. Oklahoma School Board's emergency rules are temporary, so teachers have guidelines and do not teach their own interpretation. Those rules will now have to be approved by the legislature. Our question to you, should critical race theory be taught in schools? 78% of you so far have said no. You can take part each and every morning by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Zach?
Thanks, Michael. Efforts to wipe out world hunger by 2030 are now at critical risk. That's according to the latest report from the United Nations, which cites the dramatic increase in the number of people facing hunger on a daily basis. Kevin Cork has more on what's causing the crisis and who is most at risk.
Alarming new data from the United Nations finds at least 811 million people around the world struggled with hunger during 2020, roughly 118 million more than the year before. And the problem isn't just isolated to one region.
418 million people are more undernourished in Asia, and around 282 million people are more undernourished in Africa. And in Latin America, we also seen an increase to 9.1% of the population being undernourished today.
But what exactly contributes to a hunger crisis? Experts point to 3 main areas:
conflict, climate extremes, and economic downturns.
And officials say roadblocks caused by COVID-19 only made tackling these hurdles more challenging, stressing more needs to be done to prevent wars, reduce impacts of climate change, and help make healthier foods more affordable and available to combat rising hunger. But the problem doesn't just include those who don't have enough to eat. The UN says billions of people are getting food but are still malnourished because they don't have access to a balanced diet.
We have 3 billion people that don't have access to healthy diets. We have significant increase in stunting and overweight and obesity.
The United Nations calls this crisis unacceptable, noting that children are usually the ones most impacted by food insecurity.
We'll be right back. Frito-Lay union workers are now in their second week of a strike at the plant in Topeka, Kansas. They went on strike after rejecting the latest tentative contract agreement. The 2-year deal included a 2% raise at the end of each year. The company said it also limited forced overtime. As workers continue their strike, several organizations and community members have made donations to help. They include hundreds of tacos and 500 cases of water. And a striking worker says an organization is trying to help pay the water bills for all the union workers. The union and Frito-Lay have a meeting scheduled to discuss the negotiations July 19th. From food to furniture, the prices you're paying have skyrocketed recently, and experts say the reason just about everything is more expensive has to do with America's spending binge. Mandy Gaither has more.
It's one of the unique features of the pandemic, the speed at which the demand for goods has rebounded, says Gregory Dacko, chief U.S. economist at Oxford Economics.
So that has led to unprecedented rapid rises in the price of certain goods. We saw the vegetable sector as well as the meat sector see increase in inflation, generally reflective of supply disruptions, but also the fact that we've seen strong demand and strong consumption from eating away from home to eating at home, and perhaps in some cases even consuming more than people were consuming before the COVID crisis.
Dacko says Americans have shifted some spending patterns toward getting more goods, including sports equipment, exercise equipment, and furniture, a rise that he says wasn't necessarily anticipated. Dacko says a combination of more vehicles on the road paired with the desire to travel more locally led to an increase in demand for gas, higher energy price inflation. Prices for cars are up too.
We saw an increase in car purchases during the pandemic, tied to a lot of the rental car companies sold off their inventory and now are facing strong demand. All the while, the semiconductor shortage has affected the ability to produce cars.
Meanwhile, Dacko says labor supply is constrained, leading to higher costs that are being passed on to consumers. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Another sign Americans are ready to spend money. AMC, the largest movie theater chain in the world, says the past weekend was its busiest since its theaters closed in March 2020 because of the pandemic. Subway debuts a revamped menu today, and to celebrate, it's giving away 1 million subs. Between 10 a.m. and noon, the first 50 customers at each participating restaurant can get a free 6-inch Turkey Cali Fresh sandwich. The new menu includes 11 new and improved ingredients, 6 new or returning sandwiches, and 2 new breads. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. Gabby Butler is a 2-time world champion cheerleader. She's been featured on Netflix, Nightline, and YouTube, so she has a pretty impressive resume. And now Butler is adding mentor to her list of accomplishments. She visited SWX Athletics in Webb City yesterday to show a thing or two to the next generation. KOAM photojournalist Ty Parks was there.
1, 2, 3, snap, 5, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 5.
We've had the opportunity for many years to bring Gabby and other world champion athletes to our gym. We are fortunate enough, one of our coaches is of that capacity, of that level. And we felt with having someone in-house that is of that level, bringing one of her friends in to see kind of what they've trained.
Alert 4, 5, touch 6, 7, up 8. Everybody practice that, go. The main thing that I look for is hard work. If you have a kid that's driven, there's nothing they can't do. Like, I will take hard work over natural talent any day, because at the end of the day, hard work will always beat talent. That's what I've always said, and that's something that I think is so true. Go, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3.
Well, first I did dance, and then I saw people lifting people up, so I was like, why? I know how to do dance, so why can't I just do cheer? Just gets my emotions out when I'm sad and having a bad day.
We try to make it all about the kids, but I really just want them to take away like the good moments in cheerleading, and also just having fun and like realizing like what cheer is actually about, like the positivity, all the, you know, good things that can come out of it. 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7.
The event was a fundraiser for SWX Athletics. Different tier prizes were awarded to those who raised the most funds, and those included a private meeting and lesson with Gabby. That seems pretty cool. Would be a good opportunity for, yeah.
Amazing
Definitely.
athletic ability that she has as well. Awesome that she's able to pass that along to some 4-state kiddos.
Right.
All right, Zach, let's run over to 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. What a gorgeous Tuesday morning start we have as we find ourselves about 8 minutes until the top of the hour. 64 degrees is where we stand. Temperatures, everybody very, very close together. 67 already in Nevada, who is now on top of the board. Pittsburgh's bumped up to 66. Pittsburgh was sitting at 60 earlier. So a big little ramp up. Independence at 66 and Miami at 65. That light blue you see, that's reflectivity picked up by the sweeping radar. Don't have to worry about precipitation. And look at those clouds, even moving off to the east of Springfield. Now, all that being said, we still do have 2 flood warnings in effect for the 4 states. That would be the Osage and Little Osage River, just north and northeast of Nevada. But when we look at the severe thunderstorm risk map for today, you'll notice we cut ourselves out of the mix. Look at those 3 spots there. You see that through Arizona, and then we've got Big Sky Country, and then we've got just east of the Ohio River Valley pressing up through Pennsylvania and New York. Well, there's one of them right there. They've got flood watches all over New Mexico and Arizona. And if we remember those 3 places, look at where the jet stream arrows are. Down through New Mexico and Arizona, up in Big Sky Country, and then running through Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. So that just mirrors exactly where the severe thunderstorm risk map was headed. 88, 89 degrees later on. Not going to be surprised if we don't have a 90 at the western edge of southeast Kansas. And then overnight, very warm, and the wind coming in just with a little bit of an uptick, probably about 10 to 15 miles per hour overnight. Get a little raindrop or 2 there. You got to work way down to the south of our highlighted counties. And then as we get into Wednesday, we've got a whole lot of Gulf moisture that begins to work in. And it doesn't really bring us showers yet on Wednesday. We're going to hold those off until Thursday. But one thing about Wednesday, it is going to be hot, muggy, and humid. Feel about like 96 here Wednesday afternoon, and we'll continue those 90s all the way into the weekend. We're going to be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Federal health officials are warning of an extremely rare but potentially serious side effect of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine. The CDC has received preliminary reports about 100 cases of people who developed Guillain-Barré syndrome after getting J&J's single-dose shot. The autoimmune disorder affects the nerves and can lead to paralysis. Dozens of wildfires are now burning across the western United States. The largest is Oregon's Bootleg Fire, which has already consumed roughly 240 square miles of forest. Firefighters say they managed to contain its spread on Monday, just a day after it doubled in size. And the New York Mets' Pete Alonso successfully defended his home run derby title last night in Colorado. Alonso outslugged Trey Mancini of the Baltimore Orioles in the finale. Mancini missed the entire 2020 season while undergoing treatment for colon cancer. Now let's check in with Michael for your final look at the forecast.
You know what Pete Alonso's nickname is, Dodge?
I do not know.
I think I'm gonna steal it and give it to you. Polar bear.
All right.
You got a little
polar bear.
A little polar bear, yeah. Big dude. 87, 88 degrees later on today, whole bunch of sunshine. And remember, while we stay dry today, we got to find a way to stay cool because we've got 90s rolling in for the duration of the week.
And just like we are having some good weather today, we had some yesterday, and that's when folks in the Pittsburgh area gathered for some family fun. Life Track Church in Frontenac hosted a picnic at Lakeside Park in Pittsburgh. Everyone was asked to bring a food item, and the event featured games like cornhole and a treasure hunt. Seems like it would be a good thing for this afternoon.
And I'll tell you what, Lakeside Park, beautiful place as well. Zach was just talking about the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby. Don't forget the Major League Baseball All-Star Game right here on Fox 14. Our coverage starts at 6:30 tonight, so you can take in all your favorite Cardinals and Royals. I want you to thank you for joining us here on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll do this all again with more news and weather when we see you at noon.